It's been quite a few years since we've seen Solid Snake hitting a console, but thankfully he's back on both current and next-gen hardware in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. But sadly it's not as great as it sounds, as the title we're being treated to is a prologue to the full game, The Phantom Pain, and can be completed in little more than an hour. And with the price tag coming in at £30 for the Xbox One and PS4 version, is this a fair price to pay for what effectively is just a demo? Well, there's no doubt that Ground Zeroes is a brilliant demo and a perfect bridge between the older titles and the upcoming Phantom Pain. And the price can be just about justified by the fact that Ground Zeroes does have immense replayability. But once you've seen everything in Ground Zeroes, there is the annoying fact that it's looking very likely that the Phantom Pain isn't going to hit shelves until well into 2015. But price and length aside, the visuals are stunning and arguably the most impressive yet seen on next-gen consoles. Graphically, this doesn't put a foot wrong, with some especially impressive lighting and weather effects. And Metal Gear games are famed for their film-like narrative, and Ground Zeroes continues this brilliantly. The story is set in 1975 and is essentially a sequel to the PSP game Peace Walker. And once again, you control Big Boss. The objective of Ground Zeroes is to rescue Paz and Chico, both from Peace Walker, from a Cuban prison. And unlike older Metal Gear Solid games, Ground Zeroes gets its said storyline across without mammoth cutscenes, though are always seen as a hindrance to the gameplay. What is a problem though is that the ending is clearly a setup for the Phantom Pain, and so has no real resolution. You can't really describe Ground Zeroes as a short story because it has no proper ending. It's more of just an introduction of things to come. And one of the most controversial changes in Ground Zeroes is the new voice actor in the title role, originally played by series veteran David Hayter, but now 24 star Kiefer Sutherland has taken on the reins. But sadly we feel this change isn't for the better. Metal Gear Solid is without a doubt an icon within video gaming pop culture, and a massive part of that is the gravelly voice delivered by David Hayter. And in Ground Zeroes it comes across that Sutherland just doesn't get the dialogue and the history behind the games, so the delivery is just a bit cartoonish. Hayter seemed to understand the character a lot better, and his voice made the character an icon for a reason. It seems a good idea on paper to bring in a Hollywood name to voice one of the biggest characters in gaming, but so far with Ground Zeroes it really hasn't worked. We hope things change in the Phantom Pain, but we have a feeling we'll always be pining for the return of the vocal tones of Hayter. Voices aside though, the gameplay has come on leaps and bounds, and all for the better. And it's pretty straightforward, even though there's no on-screen indication of how hidden you are, no radar and no stamina gauge. But you do get a pair of binoculars to help you tag enemies, which makes up for these changes. And also it goes into a slow-mo mode if you are spotted. The map for the main mission isn't that big, but it's all open world, so you're left to tackle the task of extracting Chico and Paz however you want, either shooting your way out or stealthily sneaking around. We found a mixture of the two to be very rewarding, and as you begin to bed in and really start enjoying the game, the end begins to rear its head. It's easily conceivable that this could be completed in under an hour, but after you do finish the main story, you can unlock a set of 5 side missions that use the same setting but change the focus to combat or stealth. They all have their own individual intro and credit sequences, and the final one being an exclusive to whichever console you're playing the game on, like the Xbox One version where you get to play as Raiden, and the PS4 extra mission where you can take pictures of scenes that resemble the original Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. Overall, we can't see most players getting more than 4 or 5 hours of entertainment out of the game, so it just barely justifies the price. And that's only if you want to play all the extra unlockable missions and replay the game 2 or 3 times. If you're a fan of the series, this is something you'll probably want to do, and will add to Metal Gear's brilliant history and nicely sets up the Phantom Pain. However, if you're new to the series, steer well clear, as you'll feel a bit perplexed at shelling out £30 and getting such a short game. You'd be much better off waiting until the Phantom Pain hits, as they're bound to bundle the two titles together.